In this video we're going to be flying with some small gang claws. We're going to be using some kiting tactics, we're going to use some artillery, and we're going to keep depleted uranium loaded because it'll give us the best range for what we want to accomplish. We're going to use a long point or a warp disruptor 2, and a 5mm cold gas for our prop. We're also going to have a tracking enhancer and a gyro to help us apply more damage, a nano for some extra speed to actually catch our targets, and a small ancillary armor repair for a little bit of tank. For the rigs we're going to use an ionic field projector so that we can lock out a little bit farther so that we have the target locked by the time we get into point range, and a small polycarbon engine housing 2 for a little bit of extra speed. In this first clip we have a small gang engagement on a gate, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave these comms up so that we can get a good feel for how the comms need to really be going for fights like this.
Use AV fit too.
I don't think we're gonna break him then.
No.
Want to load Sabo and try this Jack?
Why can't it fucking hit this Astera? What is wrong with it?
Use AV. Use AV.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Alright, I'm going for the Jag, I'm going for the Jag. I was in scram range, but it didn't scram me.
And this Jag's got so much buffer for a Fjord.
Yeah.
Watch out for the Estero.
Look like he's just crashing.
Yeah, he's just gonna get back to gate.
Want to bait him?
Gila's got me boxed. See if he puts drones on me.
They're putting drones on me.
Alright, watch out.
Scram by Jag, scram by Jag, heat on the Jag. I got off scram, I got off scram.
It's a Gila the aggressing me.
Hit the Jag.
Gila drones are on me, I'm gonna burn off.
Algo's coming in.
Gila is rapid light fits, it seems.
Algos is aggressive.
Yep, Algos put.
Switch on over to the Algos. Jag reaggressed.
Algos put drones back on Cyclo.
Yep. Algos is long point fit.
Pointed Algos.
Secondary.
I'm doing a straight burn. Drones are off Cyclo.
Back on brick, back on brick. Somebody get point.
I got
Slingshot at ourselves straight out there. We'll be fine.
Kill it.
Rep fit. Gila is boxing Cyclo.
Drones are going back. Drones are going back.
I had it break off, he had drones on me.
Shit. Fucking my piloting, fucking my piloting. Go, 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 go.
Drones on me.
Fuck these Algos drones.
Come on, rep, 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 rep.
Kill it.
I'm warping out. One more cycle.
Fuckers chase me.
I'm warping.
Fuck, Algos got out. Sun.
Did you say it warp sun?
Yeah, walking zero.
Okay. It warped Sun.
Yes.
I'm on him.
20. Nightmare just landed on gate.
He's at 0.
One more thing.
Point.
Point.
Finish him.
He's down.
Nice.
Point pod.
Kill it.
Oh, well.
He's down.
We ultimately had to give up on the engagement because they brought too much for us to kill. We did farm a little kill out of it here. He could have made his fit a little bit better simply by choosing a better ammo type to actually engage scepters with. When I'm letting on a target, I always like to have a heated micro warp drive and a heated point. The heated micro will allow me to go almost 7k per second, which is a lot, and the heated point allows me to point out to about 28 kilometers, which really helps when trying to catch targets that will be trying to run away from you. This Vector Navy is currently trying to use Praetors to catch our Scepters, which ultimately is a very poor choice of drones. A lot of these Vectors that we catch actually don't have any defensive drones, no lights or hornets to actually try and chase us down and kill us. I do actually get a little bit close here to his Praetors, and he triggers them on me, and they manage to get a little volley off, but there's really nothing to worry about here. Generally with this fit, your worst enemy is your own cap and your module management. If you're cycling your micro and you need to be cycling your ancil a little bit, then you're quickly going to find yourself running out of cap. So you will need to end up leaving grid, like I'm doing here, but it doesn't really matter that much because everybody else in your gang is also tackle, and they'll be able to hold point while you're bouncing out and back. Now, a lot of our targets are going to be ratting VNIs, Ishtars, and other ratters, and I can't really speak much about those fits, but I can say that this VNI did make a very big mistake, and that's not having light drones or potentially even EC300s in his drone bay. He only had the single flight of drones where he can fit a lot more. For a very low price and a little bit of management with his drones, he probably could have either pushed us off or killed us. In this clip we're doing a bit of a macro gang with Rokapel in a bunch of kiting scepters, and the reason I'm including this clip is it shows you what you can do to actually mitigate some of that drone damage. If you're starting to take drone aggro from some light drones, then start burning away from your target and just heat your prop, and you'll take a lot less damage, and you can kind of bring the drones with you and make it so that it takes the drones longer to travel back to the VNI and get on the other targets. At this point in the clip, we've actually broken this VNI's drone control range, and his drones actually start going back towards the VNI, but they'll have to travel about 150 kilometers. We don't want to waste capacitor that we don't have trying to micro back towards the target, so we just find one of our dudes who is within warp range, and we go ahead and warp on over to that guy, reestablish our orbit, and help to take him down. Props to this pilot, because even in a ratting ship, he made it somewhat difficult for us to actually engage him, even in our numbers, and walk away without a loss. He did good. In this clip, one of our dudes is tackled a Procure within a ore site. One thing that you have to worry about when you're engaging Procure is its drones hit very hard, and the light drones are pretty quick, so they'll be able to catch up to you every once in a while and actually volley through you. You also want to make sure that you keep at least a good 13 kilometers from the Procure. You don't want to accidentally drift into scram range and potentially get scrammed by a bait Procure. Because of the danger of the Procure's drones, every time he brings his drones out, we are going to focus down the drones and kill them until he either brings them in or is out of the light drones. They do warp in a Caracol to try and save the Procure. He does, however, seem still interested in engaging us, even after his buddy goes down. So I decide, even though it's probably a rapid light Caracol, I'm going to go in, test the damage a little bit, see if he's got maybe Rage loaded or something like that we can tank. I do a couple of drive-bys and don't really commit to a long point fight with the Caracol at first, in order to test that damage. This way, if I find the damage is too much, I can really quickly just keep burning in a straight line and soon find myself out of his application range. And it turns out that this Caracol did have a fair amount of fitting mistakes. First of all, only one ammo type, and that one ammo type is the exact worst ammo type to use against us. First, it's EM against Armor Claws, that's our highest resist profile. Second, it's Fury, and that's not going to apply to us very well at all. Second off, his mid-slot rack is an absolute mess. That is not the proper cap booster charge to be using for the large ancillary shield booster. As a general rule, you always want to use the Navy version of the smallest usable charge by that shield booster. That way you get 9 rep charges instead of fewer, but they still rep for the same amount. Thirdly, he forgot his rigs. In this clip, we're engaging an Ishtar. We see a juicy pair of geckos that we're really interested in, but he brings those in and brings out a set of hammerheads, which isn't really that much of a threat because it can neither keep up with us or apply to us.
мешают. Не в музыке, но вообще в жизни.
In this engagement, his fit was pretty decent, however, he probably would have done a lot better if he'd brought out those warriors instead of the hammers. In this clip, he warped in on a rattlesnake. We're kind of concerned because we don't know if we can actually break his tank, because they can be pretty beefy in the tank department. Luckily, the rattlesnake pilot was nice enough to eject his pod and allow us to board his ship. We then proceeded to dock back up his rattlesnake and sell it back to him. In this clip, we warped in on a Vexor Navy issue at a site. We go ahead and establish our orbit, start DPSing them down, and call for the dudes to come in for some backup. Looks like this pilot is trying to toss his heavy drones on us. This is a pretty common occurrence, as it's probably the knee-jerk reaction when somebody warps in on you and points you. Looks like he made the mistake of not filling up his drone bay, where he probably could have put some warriors in there and potentially forced us off and lived to see the next day. However, he decided to drop 300 mil in loot for us, which will allow us to buy about 10 more claws and keep roaming with. So just a few notes on this video. Generally, you want to orbit at 16 to 17 kilometers. This is going to be your best range for actually applying with the depleted uranium, and being able to kite out the drones while you're still on orbit on the target. You generally want to have at least 3 of these claws when roaming. This is both because you want to have enough DPS to bring down your target before a fairly large defense fleet will show up, and also so that you can actually guarantee that you can hold point as long as you guys don't mess up your piloting. Next up, if you're within scan range of Vienna, you probably want to whip out your 5-degree pinpoint scan to really quickly nail down where they are and get to them before they see you in boat. You also want to make sure that when you're on your warp in, you heat your prop and your warp disruptor. That way you can get on top of your target and hold them down as fast as possible and let you guys warp to you. Last off, I tend to use these claws very situationally. I tend to only use these claws when I'm roaming in an area where if you bring an actual small gang fleet comp, then you'll get blobbed and caps dropped on you into oblivion. These things are not really as good at engaging in the small gang meta, but rather you tend to use them to warp around, find ratters, find easy targets on gates. Last off, I'd like to give a shout out to Providence for funding these roams into their space with ejecting from their ships and dropping lots of shiny loot for us. Thanks, boys.